this Maimer Erev Chag was the night before Shavuos. Tavshin Lamed Gimel in 1973. בשעה שהקדימו ישראל נעשה לנשמע, when the Yidden prefaced and said, "We will do," before saying we will listen and understand. Bo Shishim Ribi Malachi Ashar's Kolachim Yisrael, so 600,000 Malachim came to every single Yid. Kosher Loishnei Ksodim, they connected, they tied on his head 2 crowns. Echad connected Na'asa, Echad connected Nishma. 1 crown was as a reward in connection with them saying we will do, and 1 was corresponding to saying we will listen and hear and understand, and we will learn. Do on Milos Hadavar Shekdimu Na'asa Lishma. It's known the great quality and advantage of the Yidden saying Na'asa before saying Nishma. Like Gemara says, the kadmisu pumaychu leudnaichu. Literally, it means you preceded your mouth to your ears. In other words, you committed with your mouth to say yes before your ears even heard what you're agreeing to. Before you heard it, Rashi, the Gemara explains, you accepted upon yourself to fulfill the Torah. There's no difference, and it doesn't matter whatsoever to the Yid what the command will be. Already initially, there's the bittul of nice that anything we will hear afterwards, anything you tell us later, we say initially that we'll surely do it, whatever you tell us to do. So I'm moving for this understood. This is a total nullification of any type of measure and boundary of intellect, of reason, of knowledge. It's going beyond that completely. Until it's explained in many places. This is a type of bittul, not a bittul to Hashem's will, but to the master of the will. When you say, after you know what you've been told to do, then you say, we'll do it. So then you are being mevatli yourself to the will. Oh, Hashem said, Kavda Savicha, I agree, I will do it. Hashem said, keep Shabbos, I will do it, etc., etc. So then you're being bottled to the wills of Hashem. But by saying Na'asa before Nishma, you don't even know if there's going to be a will, what the will is going to be, what form will it take. So you're not being mevatli yourself to the individual will, you're being mevatli yourself to the balarot, to the master of the will, to the one that creates the wills. It says, and the difference between them is the quality of bittul, what type of level of bittul this entails when you are mevatli yourself to the balarot. I said the hini harotz and the level of will, though it's a transcendent, encompassing power, since it's a movement of rushing and movement towards something, that's the idea of will. Will is my movement. My will is my movement towards something else. It's applicable by the will, different details and different levels. Therefore, if in the will there could be divided into different details and different levels, move on. So this is also understood concerning the bittul to the level of will. It's applicable details and levels in the concept of bittul, as opposed to when it's talking about the balarot and the master of the will, Hashem. It's beyond all division, beyond breaking things down, because Hashem is one. The will, there's different stages. There's the level of the attraction and that whole process of going from A to B, from the wanting to the wanted. That itself is processes and parts and pieces. But Hashem is beyond division. Therefore, in the gamma bittul also the bittul is in such a way that's beyond division and beyond breaking down. But the Rebbe goes on the second paragraph, line 21. According to this, we need to understand. Since the entire examination over here is that you accepted upon yourself to fulfill it. That's what we said. That the quality, the advantage of Na'asa for Nishma is that you accepted to fulfill the Torah, regardless of what the Torah tells you to do. L'loy nafkamina, top of page Zion, without any difference, Mashi Yishma Charkach, what they will hear afterwards. So therefore, just like the Gemara uses the term that you accepted upon yourself to fulfill it, lekaima, hayitzrichim loymar loshen shemoira al hakim. So in the Torah, in the Chumash, when it says what the Yidden said, they should have said an expression that indicates fulfilling. Nikayim v'nishma. V'lama bachrum b'kol l'shoynes dafka loshen nasa. Why do they choose from all expressions and from all possible words? They chose the expression and the word "we will do." To kosher gamim inyan asi, it's also connected with the idea of action. Action is the lowest level. Like to explain in Sharich that you've done everything with wisdom. Action is the lowest level in the person down here. How come? Even Shekenu bottom alien, since it's so too in the supernal man. In other words, in Sharich V'Amunah, it's trying to explain the idea about that by Hashem, wisdom is as far from him as Chachma, Datilus, as far from him as the level of action. So we see that the action is the epitome and the expression of something that's very far from the essence. So if it's that way in Adam Elyon, so it manifests that way also down here below, that Nishtal Shalumahem. So therefore it's understood that action is the lowest level by Jewish people as well. But it's not understood. Since by the Jewish people there was this unbelievable great advantage and quality. Even prior to Matan Torah, on the 5th of Sivan, Matan Torah is saying at the time before the giving of our Torah, the giving of the Torah was on the 6th of Sivan, so on the 5th of Sivan, they were already in a state and situation that they were ready to fulfill the Torah out of a powerful bittul that's beyond all types of bittul, like we said before, bittul of balarotzna, bittul to the master of the will, a bittul that can't be divided into parts. If so, what's the exact expression over here that we find in the Torah that the Yidden were, the fulfillment of the Torah by the Yidden was connected with the lowest level, the idea of action, and that's why they said Na'asa of all types of expressions that they could have used. Ois Beis, line 16 on page Zay. So too we have to understand concerning the general idea of the giving of the Torah, that the language used in the giving of the Torah is also seemingly of a lower level when it should be of a higher level. The giving of the Torah was affected by and came about because the Yidden prior to that said Na'asa Lנשמע. So therefore, in the giving, that was reflected as well and connected with the Yidden saying Na'asa instead of any other term. Concerning the giving of the Torah, it says, "Vaydaber is called Dvar Malchus Hashem." Specifically, the name Elokim spoke all these words, saying, "Yedu Adik Mashanama Kandaf Geshem Elokim," as it's known, the examination and the analysis. Why does it say specifically over here that Elokim said? Shalamatam Hashem Avaya. Elokim is lower than the name Yud Kei Vavke. Like it says, Shem Shemogan Avaya Elokim. That just like the sun and the sheath of the sun, the covering around the sun, so too is the Shem Avaya and Elokim. And we understand that the sun and its covering are very distant in level. The sun is the originator of the light. The covering and the shield around the sun is only a filter, only a protection for those receiving the light. So the same thing, Havai and Elokim are very distant and far from each other, as you go on to explain. As it's known for clothes, Shemus HaKadoshim, that the general category of holy names of Hashem, the Chlokim L'Shnei Sugim, are divided into two categories. Shem Havaya is in one category, Hashem's essential name, Shem HaEtzem, Shem HaMefurish, his explicit name, Shem HaMiyuchad, his unique and united name. And then on the other category, the other types are B'Shari Hashem. All the other names are part of the second category. In general, these two categories are expressed in Shem Havaya's one category, and Shem Elokim is everything else. The difference between Shem Havaya and Shem Elokim, or Shem Havaya and all the other names, is like the difference between the vessels and the lights. And the difference in the distance between the vessels and the lights is a distance that's incomparable. They're very far apart from each other. They cannot be at all compared and made close to each other. For seemingly, we're holding the second line on top of Ches. Since Matan Torah was the most awesome and powerful and essential revelation, like it's known, the saying, Matan Torah is not repeating. The giving of the Torah was a one-time event, even in Mashiach's time. It's not going to repeat the giving of the Torah. So therefore, it's the most powerful event. And why does it start that Elikim spoke these words, saying, true, later on it says, but who was the one that gave over that message? Shem Elikim. Now the Rebbe is going to bring down that really Shem Elikim can be a very high level, can be a very, there's Elikim the way it's like lower and limiting, and it's a filter and scalim, but in truth there's a level of Elikim that is really transcendent and very high. So he says in line 5, after though it's explained concerning this topic about it's starting off over here by David Elikim is called that it's the Elikim over here in this context. Shem Elikim Anisker Khan. It's referring to the way the name Elikim is in the ultimate state of ascent and elevation. Until the way it's beyond Simsum, in the ultimate state of concealment. Concerning this, it says, no eye has seen the this level, only Elikim. In other words, we're talking about a level that Elikim shows on concealment and covering. So there's the concealment, like we said, Shemesh U'Mog Havaya Elikim, that the concealment and the filter is beneath Shem Havaya. But then there's a level of concealment because it's too high to even become revealed. That's the level, for example, that the Oren Sof Shalif Nat Simsum, that's too transcendent, too high to be able to become revealed. So Shem Elikim is really a very, very high level, a very great level, because just like the light before the Tzimtzum cannot be grasped, so therefore it's called by the name Elikim, which shows on complete concealment, something beyond everything. This is similar to what we've had many times in Mamarim, that says Yoitzer Oyer V'Oyer Choshev. That Yoitzer, the level of Yitzira, has to do with light, and Bria has to do with darkness. Why do we call Bria darkness? Bria is a higher world. But looking from our perspective, when it goes so high up, it's dark for us. It's something that we cannot take in. The same thing, just like Bria is called darkness, the same thing, the Oynus of Shlifnat Simsum is called dark in comparison to the light that comes down afterwards. So therefore, that Oynus of Shlifnat Simsum is a level that has to do with Shem Elikim, which is concealment and dark. That's what other Mamorim explain. By David Elikim is called Dvar Malchus. Elikim over here is not talking about the tzimtzum of Elokim in such a way that it doesn't allow Shem Havaya to become revealed. It's actually the level of Elokim, where it's completely higher and beyond Seder Ishtalshlus, and that's why it's called Elokim, because we don't see it, we don't perceive it. The Rebbe is going to ask, still in all, the name Elokim has in it both facets. The name Elokim does not just indicate that which is higher and beyond comprehension, but it indicates, and even more common indication of Shem Elokim is the level of Tzimtzum. So why use that term? That's the question that he's going to pose. So he says, line 9, along with the interpretation that Shem Elokim applies to the Ein Sof that's higher than the Tzimtzum, there's a level of Shem Elokim the way it's below. Until the name Elokim, Aleph Lamed Hey Yud Mem, which is the same numerical equivalent like Hateva, which shows on the lowest level of Shem Elokim the way it's completely embedded and part and concealed within nature. Became, despite the fact that Shem Elokim has also a connotation of being very low and limiting, by giving it a Torah, it uses specifically the name Elokim. And we actually see this from the way the Chazal use or describe the revelation of Matan Torah. They use a similar term which indicates limitation and constriction and so on. It says in line 12, like it's also understood from the fact, since when it comes to Matan Torah, the pasuk starts off by saying Elokim spoke, in the Gamba Torah Shvalpeh, also in the oral Torah. The expression is that the two first dibros, Anoichi and Lo Yilecha, we heard it from the mouth of Harlei Kol Hashem, HaGevura, the mighty one, the Almighty. Gevura shows on that level of Shem Elokim, which has the constriction, like Gevura in Sfiris, constricts the levels that came above it. When the Chazal say that we heard it from the mouth of the Almighty, from the Pia Gevura, it doesn't leave its simple sense. The intention is to the level of Gevura, not some awesome Elokim level that's Ein Sof before the Tzimtzum, but Gevura, the Almighty, the way we perceive and hear the Almighty. To such a degree, it says, the Jewish people heard it from the Almighty. In other words, we're talking about a level of Gevura which is possible for the Jewish people to hear with their physical ear. Dimsa comes out from when it says Vaydaber Elokim, there are two components and aspects. Shem Elokim the name Elokim, the way it's in the ultimate state of ascent, the highest most level. Shem Elokim the name Elokim, the way it's down here below. Similar to what we said before in prefacing Na'asa before Nishma. And it has the ultimate bittul that's higher even than the bittul to the will. It also has the lowest level, the level of action. So the same thing, Shem Elokim has the Elokim that's higher than Tzimtzum, and Elokim, the way it's down here, constriction and concealment. Any questions? Last paragraph on the page, line 24. Also concerning the manner in which the Aseres HaDibros were given, it's also, we find like an interesting extreme. Like it says, there was the sounds, meaning the thunder, and there was the lightning going over Har Sinai Oshon, and the Har Sinai was like smoking. This is all the effects and all the tumult and all the big deal that's going on. Yeshna inyan hakolos broken vision is borum amar midrash Chazal. There is the way in Mamar Chazal that explains very high things about the sounds. Va'ad latachasa ilu bin hakolos, he says in page test, to the most highest level on the level of the sound. Fine. This indicates, according to Chassidus, about revelation and array of Hashem. Beginning from the highest revelation and the highest ray, along with this highest revelation and highest ray. There was also the lightning and the thunder and the smoke, the way they came in the literal physical sense. So again, we have this joining of Na'asa, physical, and the whole highest level of devotion to Hashem, to Baal Ratzon. We have Elokim in the highest level, and then Elokim in the lowest level, and then we have the sounds, the thunders, and lightning, etc., in the highest most level, and then we have in the literal. And also we have this type idea of joining two extremes. So too is concerning the content of the Aseres HaDibros by Matan Torah. That there is explanation of this in the most inner level. We speak about I am Hashem your God. We speak about most inner, highest, most things. What does it mean, I, without giving a name? So the Zohar says the lo yisrames, lo b'shum ois, lo b'shum koitz. It's a level of godliness that is so beyond everything and so beyond revelation that you cannot even say it and express it in a name. You just say I. It's not even, not only is it not hinted in a name, it's not even hinted, not in a letter of Hashem's name. Not even in a point on top of the letter of Hashem's name. Therefore, the only way to give some type of expression to it is by just choosing the word Anoichi. Then we go on to this level of Anoichi Nimshechas idea Havaya comes down through Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, and Na'as is B'chinas Alakecha, and then becomes your God. It comes down to you. Becomes like Chassidus always brings down the expression from Shulchan Aruch and the meaning of Shem Elokim. It's your koyach, it's your chayis. It becomes your life. It becomes your thing that becomes invigorating. So that's the deepest concepts in the Aseres HaDibros. And not only in Anoich Havai Lekecha there's such deep concepts, but even in the later, more ordinary types of Aseres HaDibros, which one might think is very simple and simplistic and so on, even those have deep concepts. Also concerning the negative commandments of the Aseres HaDibros. For example, the command not to kill, not to murder. Look at the Torah, let's explain the Torah. What does it mean not murdering or not spilling blood in the supernal lights? The blood of the supernal man. Supernal man goes on the spheres of above. We say that it's just like there's 248 limbs and organs down here. There's a 248 limbs and organs above in the spheres above. And just like by us, there's blood that runs through our body, runs through our organs. The same thing, the life blood that goes through the spheres is the oiros that come into the kelim. When a person, chas v'shalom, does an Aveira, he spills Hashem's blood, and it causes it to go, he makes like a puncture in the vessels, in the kelim, and he allows for those oiros, for that life blood of Hashem, chas v'shalom, to go out into Adam of Klippa, into Klippas. And that is the spiritual idea of murder, where we Chaviyachol spill the blood of Hashem into Klippa. But we find that Lo Sirtzach is not just on a very low physical level, it's a very spiritual level as well. So too in the other commands, the negative commandments in the Aseres HaDibros that seem to be talking about very simple things, But they have very deep spiritual meanings as well. But despite the fact that all of these things have all these lofty and spiritual and deep meanings, still in all these things were said in such a manner. First and foremost, this is something that's considered practical halacha, down to earth. When we come to the command, there should not be any other gods before you. What does it mean in the practical world? The literal, the practical halacha of it is like the literal meaning. To negate physical avodah zarah in this literal physical world, that we should not serve avodah zarah. That's what it means, even though it might have spiritual meaning as well. Well, there's the Bishara Tzivuyim that Loisa says so too in all the other commands in the Asar Sadibris of the negative commandments, means practically and literally not to steal or kidnap and not to murder, etc., etc. Also the commands in the Asar Sadibris that are positive, to keep Shabbos, honor your father, etc., all these things, in addition to whatever deep spiritual meaning they have, they mean in the literal sense. And even the highest and the most deepest of the Aseret HaDibros also has the practical application. Even when we say, I am Hashem your God, that we explained previously, the deepest, most levels that Anoich Havai Lekecha indicate, but it also means in the literal sense. Lekabel al atzma yamuna b'Hashem v'il malchus yisbarach, to accept upon oneself the belief in Hashem and the yoke of His kingship. It is a mechilta, like it's brought down mechilta, shem shkibal malchus, just like you accepted my kingship upon yourself. That's the idea of when Hashem said the Jewish people accepted Hashem's kingship. I also accept my decrees, my laws, the commands that follow in the Aseret HaDibros afterwards. Meaning, Aseret HaDibros, with all the lofty things, is very practical at the same time. You call Aseret HaDibros the entire Ten Commandments, the way they were in a revealed way, in a way that's understood and obvious to all. These are simple, literal matters. Like the Alter Rebbe says in the Maimon of the Torah about this, to such a degree is it such simple topics. It inspires the person to ask a very simple question. What was the big tumult of the lightning and thunder and the smoking mountain? When we're speaking about the most simple matters, not to kill, you need to have all these effects and all this big tumult about. To such a degree that the majority of the Aseret HaDibros is part of the Sheva Mitzvah Noach. Even as these mitzvahs came into their own category, they're part of the 613 mitzvahs, they're not part of the 7 mitzvahs Noach. These are very simple things and understood things for every person. So, therefore, we find that the Torah is talking with the literal as well. It seems to make more sense that if you're making such a big production out of it, with the lightning and the thunder, etc., you should have spent the time talking about the super rational mitzvahs. Even the way they're divided into mitzvahs in the simple sense, because even the literal, simple meaning of the mitzvahs, the chukim are out of this world. You say them as even more so. What should have been given by Matan Torah? That was this whole production. Spiritual matters should be given. Should be until the ultimate ascent and elevation in matters of spirituality. That's what should have been given by Matan Torah. Instead of these very simplistic and seemingly low things, though they also contain a deeper level and deeper meanings, but they don't leave the simple meaning at all. So we see again this type of joining of the simple and the sublime in the actual Aseres HaDibros themselves, just like the simple and sublime is in the word Na'asa v'Nishma, just like the simple and sublime is in the Shem Elokim, and for all and the question, which is the common denominator question through all of this, is why even deal and address things that are on the most simple level. We should be dealing only by the Aseres HaDibros with the most sublime level.